Something historic is happening inside NATO. It isn't a coup or a public split. It's quieter than that. Something that moves through cables, encrypted calls, and whispered meetings in Brussels. Europe is no longer sure it can trust the United States. In recent weeks, two moments made that unease impossible to ignore. In Lisbon, Portugal president accused Donald Trump of being, quote, objectively a Russian asset. And in The Hague, the Dutch military intelligence chief admitted that his service has begun withholding information from Washington, especially anything touching Russia. These two statements, one political, one operational, tell the same story. Europe is starting to break away from the American shadow. Let's begin in Lisbon. Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, Portugal's president, is a cautious man. He's not known for reckless words. So when he told his own party that Trump's administration strategically favors Russia, people noticed. He said what others in Europe only whisper, that the transatlantic relationship is no longer one of faith, but of suspicion. Trump's second presidency has revived old fears, but this time it feels different. European leaders have learned from his first term that the chaos in Washington isn't just theatre, it can rewrite alliances. Then came the Dutch revelation. Peter Riesink, head of the Netherlands Military Intelligence and Security Service, told the newspaper De Volkskrant that his agency now weighs carefully what it shares with the US. His exact words were simple. Sometimes we simply no longer share certain things. That might sound procedural, but in NATO language, it's a thunderclap. For 75 years, the alliance's strength has rested not only on tanks or planes, but on trust, on the assumption that information given to Washington stays protected. Now that assumption is gone. This mistrust didn't appear out of nowhere. It began in May 2017, inside the Oval Office. Trump met Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Ambassador Sergei Kislyak, and, according to the Washington Post, shared highly classified intelligence about an ISIS plot. The information came from Israel. US officials were horrified. One called it more than we share with our own allies. That leak nearly exposed a covert source inside ISIS and damaged one of Washington's most sensitive partnerships. Fast forward 8 years. European agencies remember. They are adapting. When Dutch officials now say they weigh carefully what they share, what they mean is, we remember what he did last time. This year's purge of senior US intelligence officials hasn't helped. Trump fired the head of the National Security Agency, General Timothy Horth, and his deputy, after meeting far-right activist Laura Loomer. Loomer later boasted online that both men were dismissed for being disloyal. These aren't the kind of headlines that make allies confident in your intelligence system. They make them wonder who's listening and for what purpose. Inside NATO, intelligence officers now speak of controlled disclosure. They still cooperate, but they decide what to share, when and how. The nervous system of the alliance is still alive, but it's no longer automatic. Across the continent, Europe is beginning to act like a power on its own. France and Germany are expanding their intelligence sharing under EU mechanisms. The Netherlands is building one of the most advanced cyber networks in Europe. Brussels is even talking about intelligence sovereignty, the way it once talked about energy independence. This isn't about turning against America. It's about survival. If the US becomes unpredictable, Europe must learn to stand without it. For Washington, the risk is existential. An alliance based on faith can't survive without it. Every time Trump mocks NATO, fires another general, or courts Moscow, another piece of that faith disappears. For Europe, it's an emotional shift, as much as a strategic one. The transatlantic bond was never just about power. It was about belief in a shared mission. Now that belief is cracking. From Lisbon's accusation to The Hague's caution, a new Europe is taking shape, quieter, more independent, and less trusting of the United States. The question is no longer whether Europe can survive without American protection. It's whether America can survive without Europe's trust. If you enjoyed this analysis, subscribe and like this video. And for deeper insight into the changing world of transatlantic relations, visit westernrelations.com, where Europe's story is told in its own voice. Thanks for watching.